Welcome back to World Drum Club. I'm Kalani Das, your host and teacher, and now we're going to continue with our Taylor interview about djembe. This is part 2 of 3. So if you haven't seen part 1, go do that. Enjoy part 2 of the video. Here you go.
Know that repetition is the path to mastery. And be careful here, I did not call myself a master. I'm not calling myself a master. I'm saying repetition is the path to mastery.
Yep.
Do this same thing over and over and over and you will find it. If you do this same thing and you get frustrated and stop, you're definitely not going to find it.
How often do people get discouraged? They say, "Oh, I'm trying to do this. It's not coming. What do I need to do? What do I need to do?" Like as if it's supposed to happen, in 10 minutes or an hour or even a day or a week.
Right.
And sometimes it takes a long time.
Yeah.
We were just talking about shakuhachi. I mean, shakuhachi players play a really basic melody, and it's like for 8 years they play. It might take you 3 months just to get a sound. Because it's subtle.
Subtle. This is a subtle instrument. It's an instrument that there's lessons in djembe that are not musical.
Right.
Patience.
Right.
Patience is a massive lesson out of the study of djembe. If you want to get clear sound on your tone, slap, and bass. And why would you want to do that? Well, one reason is you want to play traditional music on traditional djembe music, but you don't have to have that as a motivation. To play the instrument clearly, I know that when I started, I was in drum circles, and I didn't know what bass tone and slap were. I was just going, and I was having fun.
Just finding your own sounds.
Finding my own thing. And then when I heard someone do bass tone and slap, I was like, oh my Lord. I'd never imagined that was a possibility.
Right.
And so what I did was I started studying that, and I didn't start immediately studying traditional music, but I started improving my sound. And my vocabulary, what I was able to do in drum circles, went off the chart. Now I was speaking on the instrument. Now I was playing music on the instrument. Now I was emulating melodies from Miles Davis and Pat Metheny and John Coltrane on djembe. Because I was hearing the melodies in my head, the songs I know, and I'd go, I'll say it. It's music. Play music on this musical instrument, but have clear notes, and it will help the music be, musical.
Absolutely. Would you mind playing a little bit for, anything you want?
Let's go.
That's fun. This is like being in a room that has natural reverb. We're in this we snuck into this room. By the way, thank you. That was a treat. Don't you guys love listening to live drumming of a skilled drummer? I mean, I do. I always get amped.
Look, if anyone can bring voice out of the instrument, if they can connect to the instrument, in a way where its voice lives, violin, intonation. Trumpet, embouchure, all these that's the tone and slap and bass, of those instruments, So when you're playing, treat this, and I keep mentioning these other instruments, comparing it to non-drums.
Right.
Because a lot of people have an idea, I'm not sure if it's a consciously created idea, but they treat the djembe in a way that's lower than those instruments.
Yeah, somehow.
Somehow it comes more casual throwaway instrument kind of thing. Like it's not as important as an oboe or a piano, and cannot be approached in the same way of, if you pick, you don't see oboe circles.
Right. because people they know what the context is, and they're not trying to do anything else. They understand.
There's an expectation that you go through a process of learning how to play the instrument before you get out of the studio.
Yeah.
And with djembe, djembe is so welcoming. I love djembe. It's like so fun to play. You can know nothing and have a transcendent experience on it. So I'm not downplaying that, because I started in that place and I know that place. You don't have to know how to play the instrument in the way that I've demonstrated in order to get endless joy out of it. But don't let that immediate gratification, don't let that mean that you don't keep going down the path of discovering the instrument.
Yeah, the instrument and the music. If I could add to that, I just did a little talk to some of my music educator students. I'm doing an online course on world drumming. And I just would make the argument to people that the reason a lot of people, let's say, they tend to kind of discount the music or call it, like I've heard educators call the music primitive. I've read that in books too. Oh, it's primitive, or it's basic, or it's fun. And the reason people do that is because they're ignorant. Because they don't know the music. They've never played the drum, and their ability to absorb the music in its subtlety and its complexity is not developed. So what is their experience? Their experience is they don't have anywhere to really put that. So it becomes simple to them because they're not able to understand it. See? So it's not about and then they judge the music because of their own, I'm going to say, ignorance.
Their lack of context.
Their lack of context, their lack of ability to perceive of the way the rhythms are stacked together and the complexity. I mean, it's quite complex, but it's not complex in a way that we usually think of complex. We usually think of complex as harmony.
Right.
Oh, it's got a lot of chords.
A lot of different things happening that I can easily see.
Yeah.
Not subtlety like this. And on that
There's
line,
a lot going on with this music.
Sometimes I'll have students in class and I go tone and slap and they say, I can't hear the difference. Now, I used to think it was my technique until I saw some of my master drummer teachers do that and ask them the same question. And I was like, okay, I'm off the hook. It ain't me. It's a sensibility that has not been cultivated to hear that. Now, what do? Okay, I have a thing here now. And this happened on accident because I was practicing in a room at the Old Town School of Folk Music in Chicago, a lovely place.
Awesome place.
And it was a drum set in the room, and I was doing something, whatever. But the snare was like, bzz, 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 bzz. And I was like, oh my gosh, this thing is jamming with me. I've like crossed some barrier and I can communicate with
the spirit of the drummer.
Then I realized, oh, it only happens when my tones are good. And it doesn't happen when my slaps are good. Okay. So the snares were resonating with the tone, and they were not resonating with the slap. And when I would give something in between, it would give me something in between.
Interesting.
Then I realized, oh, snare, you're one of my teachers now, aren't you?
That's right.
And now look, I will recommend you to, if you want to know if your tone and slap is clear, you think it is, good for you. Ask the snare. But be careful. The snare don't care. The snare don't care. The snare don't care. The snare don't care about your feelings. The snare don't care about you had a bad day. It will tell you the truth no matter how much it hurts. Now, extending that. So having had that experience, I'm in my classes and my students can't sometimes hear the difference. I have them place their hand on their drum and keep it on their drum. And when I do tone, their hand vibrates. And when I do slap, it does not. And I do some kind of melodic structure where they can hear, the music happening between the interaction between tone and slap, and then they're just blown away. They're like, oh my God. Because now they felt it. It is now crossed that barrier of perception.
And it helps them connect what they're feeling with what they're hearing. And
Exactly.
Then,
It helps them connect what they're feeling with what they're hearing. And now that mechanism is cultivated. I thought, I'm saying that necessity did this. You know what I mean? I'm like, I got to get to these people because it's like, if you hear this played, you look at an oscilloscope, of that sound event,
yeah.
and it is physically things are different happening.
Yeah,
the eardrum is physically doing different things. So it's not the physical that's going on. It's the interpreter.
Right.
It's the brain that's not, like you said, if it lacks context, it can't hear this thing that it doesn't know how to listen to.
I think it's a little bit, I'd just relate it to, you know how when we first maybe have musical experiences, most people can tell the difference between a low sound and a really high sound.
Right. Oh, yeah. And
right?
this is kind of close.
It gets to, and then, then we can maybe hear, you know, a diatonic scale or a basic scale, and then we can hear a chromatic, like the difference between, you know, like, you know, and then we can hear, hopefully, as we're musicians, we can hear something that's in tune and out of tune.
Right.
And so our ability to discern, to differentiate between sounds becomes more tuned in, and that's kind of, I think, what you're talking about, right?
Yes.
Like they didn't have enough. And why would they? If you know, I mean, it's not a judgment.
Exactly.
thing.
Where does it come? Why would you? Right?
Yeah. Why
In our
would
culture,
you?
There's no real reason that you would.
Yeah. Some people will immediately. They'll say, "Oh yeah, tone slap. I can hear it."
Right.
And some people won't.
Yeah.
And that's okay. You just
But
what you're talking about is how do you know? And it's important to get feedback from somewhere. Somebody's got to tell you.
Exactly. If you think your stuff is just sounding great, that's good that you think that, and it may or may not be true. And the judge of that is probably not you.
Yeah.
You know, it's someone else.
Right. Exactly.
You know, it's something else.
I tell people, make a recording. Even if you make a recording.
Oh my gosh! I tell my students
listen to it later, right?
Listen to it, and after you wipe away the tears. You can't get back to playing some more and then realize that, I wasn't so clear as I thought I was. Yeah.
You know, one of the reasons I actually like to do this channel is because it helps me check myself, because I have to play, if I'm going to demonstrate something, even for the online community, I'm editing it, I'm like, okay, it's either going to pass or it's not, and I have to realize that's where I'm playing, that's how I sound.
Yeah.
That's how I sound.
Honor where you're at, you know. And another thing about djembe is the practice of djembe. You know, violin, French horn, even non-fretted instruments. And the beginning stages, they're kind of half painful. You know what I mean? The journey to getting the sound is not lovely. You know what I mean? Right. You know, if you've ever heard a violin level 1 recital, it's like, you know. So, but. You know, djembe, even, you know, if you're not playing clean, if you're being groovy, that's a good thing. And it's not bad to have a good experience, even if you're not satisfied with where you're at. Good, you're not satisfied with where you're at. Keep going. Yeah. Just keep going. You're gonna. My first my first djembe teacher that wasn't African, my first djembe teacher was Michael Marcus.
Oh yeah.
From New York City.
Great.
I can't recommend him enough.
Awesome.
You know? And but my first djembe teacher, Yaya Kabo, he was an African. He used to say, "Don't worry, Taylor, you're gonna got it."
You're gonna got it.
You're gonna got it. He always, because I was frustrated, you know, because I was always trying to get it, and I wish I could remember how long it took me. I really wish. Yeah. But I was so directed on getting it, you know, and I would have to remind myself to feel the joy in my practice at times. Right. Because I knew what I could sound like, and I knew what my teachers sounded like. I knew what the potential was. Right. And I was not there yet. When did it happen? I honestly have no idea.
Yeah. It happens gradually, doesn't it?
It happens gradually. It's like, what is it like watching grass grow or something? You know, it's almost like if you, someone who's seen you play at week 1, and then you haven't seen that person, and then just see you play at week 53, a year later, they will be able to say, wow.
Yeah, exactly.
But you might not be thinking that because you know how it is.
It's the leaky faucet thing, right? You have a bathtub and it's just drip, 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 and you think, oh, that's nothing. But if you go away for 6 months, your house is going to be flooded. But you know, the point is, we fill our buckets or our tubs or our technique a drop at a time. That's a day to day. You know, and that's something that I think a lot of non-musicians don't really get, how much time and attention that a professional level, whether you're a professional performer or you make money or not, I'm just saying professional level, even if it's for fun, a professional level player has put in. It's hundreds of hours, or really probably thousands of hours, but let's just keep it so we can think about it. Hundreds of hours, you guys, hundreds of hours. And then, you know, and all those hours are awesome.
Yes.
All those hours are awesome.
And have it, like we're talking about, having a source to say, how am I doing? That's important. You got to have those check-ins. If you don't have those check-ins, you could spend, look, I know people who have been playing for 50 years. I know people who've been playing 1 year. 50 times. Not so good. You know what I mean? Because they never, they didn't really study with anybody. They just kind of play, they do their own thing, and they never progressed because they didn't do those things like check-ins. And look, honestly, maybe their motivation is to be exactly that. How am I going to be mad at that? Because you've met what you want to do.
Exactly. Not everybody has to get in the lineage of djembe and work your way up to through all the stuff. I mean, you can do that. That's awesome if you want to do it. Just like if you learn some karate or something, you don't have to go all the way, But you do want to know. Let's just recap. Let's recap. You want to know what the standard is.
Like, how does the instrument speak?
How does the instrument sound? Who's come before? Who are the major musicians? And you rattled off a few names. You got to start there and start with listening. And now you can, of course, watch.
There's video all over the place.
Tons of video. So that's where you got to start. You have to know where you're going for. Otherwise, you're just proceeding kind of ignorant.
Begin with the end in mind is good wisdom.
Hopefully, study with people that know. How do you find out? How do you know who to study with? There should be recordings, audio and video of those teachers. If there's no recordings of your teacher, then keep looking. There's kind of, and then ask your local teacher. You know, your local teacher is probably going to be like a journeyman or somebody like you who is a conduit to the masters. You don't have to study with the master teachers right away. You can study. You can do years of study. You know, just make sure you're in that line.
You might not ever make it to a master teacher because, there's not very many around anymore. And, another 50 years or a lot less, there will be fewer and fewer of them,
So now's a good time to get started.
And they talk about that the culture bearers of this tradition is going to be non-Africans. Why? Because a lot of Africans are not picking it up. They're not learning it. And on that subject, no one's born with information about how to play an instrument. You can be born in a culture where you're immersed in it from conception, and that means that when you get born, you're hearing it all the time, and you can probably pick it up more quickly. But if you think that because you have more of a connection to African ancestry, that you have inherited the ability to play this instrument, that is a falsehood. So I see that a lot. I see that a lot. You got to, and Mamadi says straight out, he's like, whoever comes to the djembe and learns the djembe reveals its secrets to that person. But if you don't go to it and learn it, you can't just come to it and it just gives up everything to you because you're a certain type of person or you have certain lineage or anything like that.
Absolutely. It's about the intention and the heart and the passion and that relationship that you were talking about.
And he'll say again and again, djembe does not know gender, djembe does not know skin color, djembe does not know nationality, djembe only knows what you just said.
Nice. Okay, that concludes part 2 of the Taylor interview about djembe, music, culture. Of course, all the links are below this video if you want to find out more about what he's doing and what we're doing here through World Drum Club. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already. And you can click one of the videos that are showing up now to continue in this series or something else.